So this is about the carbon cycle. So first of all, just a little note about what decomposers are. So decomposers are microorganisms and they consist of bacteria and fungi. So decomposers are bacteria and fungi. And what they do is they digest dead remains of animals, plants, their feces, and they use some nutrients to grow and reproduce, but they also release waste carbon dioxide, and they might recycle some minerals back into the soil. So decomposers are the final bacteria and fungi which break down dead or decaying material or feces. First of all, what compounds contain carbon? So the thing that I came up with that I could think of, anything that contains carbon, so carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Proteins have carbon in them. Calcium carbonate rocks, calcium carbonate obviously has carbon in. DNA, glucose, carbohydrates, fats, cellulose, all of these things have carbon in them, and carbon can be recycled throughout the atmosphere, throughout the soil, the earth, throughout living things, etc. So that is what we're going to move on to, is the carbon cycle. So when I'm constructing a carbon cycle, the first thing I would do is write 5 boxes. So first one is carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Then carbon compounds in plants, such as cellulose or proteins. Carbon compounds in animals, fats, glucose, glycogen, etc. Then I'd write decomposers, they're the things that break down dead or decaying material. And then the 5th box is a different colour because it doesn't always happen, but some things can turn into fossil fuels. So, what do all living things do to release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere? Well, it's part of Mrs. Gren, and all living things respire. So then I'd start adding the arrows for respiration. Will plants respire? Decomposers, bacteria and fungi, also respire. Animals also respire. So then I would look again at plants. We've got an arrow from plants to carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. When plants respire, they release carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. They also do a process that takes in carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. And that process is photosynthesis. So photosynthesis turns carbon dioxide into the atmosphere into compounds such as glucose. Then, what can happen to plants? Well, animals can eat plants by the process of eating or feeding. And unfortunately, plants and animals will die, and also before they die, they will excrete things such as feces, urine, etc. And these have to be decomposed. So, like decaying remains of plants and animals will need to be decomposed. Any feces, any urine will need to be decomposed by bacteria and fungi. So that is known as either decay, decomposition. So decay of waste materials is known as death or decomposition. Okay. However, if there's no oxygen present, or it's too cold, it's freezing, etc., then the conditions aren't there for the plants and animals to decay. So if there's no oxygen, in the absence of oxygen, instead of being decomposed, what could happen is they get fossilised. So that is known as fossilisation. So that would happen in the absence of oxygen over millions and millions of years. And then what can we do with fossil fuels to release carbon dioxide back in the atmosphere? Well, what we do is we burn them by combustion, which releases carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. And that is the carbon cycle. I think it's important to understand the processes because rather than learn a diagram, because each question might look different, the carbon cycle. But if you understand the processes, that all living things respire, give off carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, plants photosynthesize and take in carbon dioxide into the atmosphere and fix it into things like glucose, cellulose, etc. Animals eat plants, and animals will incorporate it into fats, carbohydrates, etc. Plants and animals defecate. They also unfortunately die, and therefore they will be decomposed by decomposers. And however, if there's no oxygen, the condition needed for decay, then what will happen over millions of years in the absence of oxygen is fossilization. And then what can happen is fossil fuels can be burned in the process of combustion. So here's a sort of answer that you could give if you got asked a 6-mark question about the carbon cycle. You can start anywhere in the cycle, but I've started with the fact that plants photosynthesize. So plants photosynthesize and they take in carbon dioxide. Plants use the carbon to make carbohydrates or proteins or cellulose, etc. Animals eat plants. Plants respire. Animals respire. Respiration releases carbon dioxide. Plants and animals die. Microorganisms or decomposers decay or decompose or break down dead organisms, and also decomposers respire. That's the end of the carbon cycle. Well, it's not the end because it's a cycle.